What's up? I'm finally back doing another video. It's been too long, and hopefully it won't be as long between this one and the next one, but here we go. Something I haven't really dipped my feet into, even with all my old models, is miniature basing. I did base my miniatures. I'd slap some glue all over the model, smear it all over, and, dunk that shit in some sand, and I'd call it a day. Wouldn't even clean up the base rim or paint it. So this is really my first experience going into this and trying to make a base that's more on the level with how my painting has progressed, because my basing certainly has not. Everything has just been standing on a black void, basically in nowhere. But we're going to change that today with this Marine, which I really love how this Marine painted up, and I'm really excited to get him on a base. My Marines, which I actually have a name for them now, the Soul Claws, spelled S-O-L, like sun, but they're Marines that are themed around crabs. And basically my power fantasy for this army is, like, imagine a Stormhawk or whatever it's called. I don't remember what the Space Marine big ships are called, but imagine it flying into a planet, and then the hatch opens up, and there's Space Marines lined. They go to the hatch, and it's just an ocean. Just literally, they're in the middle of the ocean. Maybe you can see land, like, in the distance. And then in lines, they all jump in, like, 4 at a time, like, goo, goo, goo. And then, like, you go over to the ocean, you go pan over to the coastline, and you see them all marching up out of the ocean onto the beaches. It just sounds cool. So I like them to be, like, aquatic marines. So I thought a good place to put them on is, well, a coastline. So we're going to do, like, rocks and the ocean. But before we can do any of that, we have to get him off of his base. These are the push-to-fit models from Leviathan, so this little nub on the bottom here, you should be able to push it out, but instead I tried pushing it out really hard until the brush I was using to push it out snapped, and then I tried using a knife. It got pretty crazy after that. Then I remembered that I super glued it down to my paint handle, so it also super glued it to the base, so I ended up just cutting it off and sanding it down. Then I rip up some cork. This is just like some cork I got from Walmart for like $10 in the stationery craft section. I super glue that down, and then I get some clay, which is a little bit of Crayola air dry clay. You don't need anything super fancy since this is just, basing in terrain. And once I put that down, I take a little bit of cork and I press it in there to give it a rocky texture. Then I go ahead and dry fit the model. Make sure I know where he's going to stand, make sure it's all level, and make sure, just everything's looking nice. Then I go ahead and put super glue around the clay just to make sure that it stays, because I definitely don't want it to just pop off the base. That would be very unfortunate and make me want to cry. Then we put super glue on the bottom of the Space Marine, and remember that we aren't supposed to glue it yet. This is not when you should be gluing the model, unless it's a unpainted model. Like, unless this is gray plastic, you shouldn't be doing this. This was really stupid of me, and I don't know why I did it, so don't do this. And I ended up not doing it also, because I realized what a big idiot I was. Then we bring out the big sand. You could go to your, website or local hobby store and get, or, friendly local game store is what I mean, and get yourself, like, actual basing rocks and basing sand, but they come in, like, a tiny little plastic thing for, like, $15 whenever you can get this giant bag I got from Walmart by, like, the fake flowers for, like, $5. And this is something that I'm going to essentially never run out of. But then we get our wood glue and we just spread that shit everywhere except for where the feet are supposed to go. I would recommend leaving that bare, or at least sanding it afterwards. You'll see what I do later. I was kind of stupid about it and ended up making me have to finagle with the model a lot more than I should have. But then we just open up the big sandbag and we just dunk that base in there. Another thing that I didn't do that I definitely recommend, please give your sand time to dry. I definitely did not let the wood glue set and it ended up flaking off some sand pieces after priming. It was kind of a mess, but don't worry, the end result is still really great. And speaking of priming, next thing we do is we prime this bad boy black. And now it's time to paint our ocean. And what I decided to do was mix green and blue because I didn't want things to look Christmassy at all. So I wanted to do a like green-blue color. So I mixed Goblin Green with Ultramarine Blue. And that gave me my base color, and I just globulated that shit all over. Make it look like water, you know. It's gonna take a while to dry, but I want to make sure, you know, without resin or any fancy tricks up my sleeve, I don't have any water effects or anything. I still want this to read as a, you know, like a alien planet shoreline. Then I add more green, more Gerblin green into that mix, and then I globulate some more, just mostly around the rocks to kind of make it look like whenever sand is like transitioning into deep water. Give it more of a realistic feel, as well as just giving more interest to the base in general. The next part is probably my favorite. I mix green and white paint in a cup, and then I put a little bit of baking soda in there, and then I mix that all together, and it gives me this, I mean, this mixture can be used for a lot of different things. I've used it for snow before, but here I'm dabbing it on the edges of the rocks to make it look like sea foam that's like gathered on the rocks whenever the waves are coming in. I really like this effect, and I'm really proud of how it turned out in the end. Then we grab a makeup brush. You can use any brush that's like wide and big for this, but I just grabbed this makeup brush and I dry brush light gray, this Stonewall gray. I love this gray. We're going to dry brush it all over. Then finally we can super glue down the model for real this time. Finagle a bunch. Paint the rim and profit. You know, I never thought I'd say that my models stand on Goblin Green bases, and I really never thought that I'd say my models stand on Goblin Green bases, and I love that. Especially without having, you know, the fancy doodads of water effects and resin and all that sort. I think I did a pretty good job of making a alien coastline. But if you see something that I could do better, something you think I could do to make the bases pop even more, make them look even better, please tell me in the comments. If you want to learn more about my chapter, The Soul Claws, maybe you should hit that goofy red rectangle. That would be kind of silly and goofy, kind of funny. I'd chuckle a little if I saw that in my notification feed, that Johnny Boy 2074 subscribed to my channel. Hysterics.